Previously on Moneypenny. We met Bob Allen from the US Coast Guard Auxiliary. He came down to do a vessel safety check and we started going through all the mandatory requirements like throwables, life jackets and flares. Stay tuned for the remainder of the mandatory safety requirements.
Alright, another one that we'll need to get off the vessel for is the navigation lights.
Alrighty.
We're going to take a look at the pollution placard now. There is a requirement for vessels 26 feet and longer, not much longer than your vessel, that they have a pollution placard, which is right there. And that would have to be made of durable material fixed in a conspicuous space in the machinery spaces. So your vessel is
25.
25. So most vessels that are similar to yours will be 26 or 29, a lot of 29 footers out of there. They would need to have the pollution placard, and that would also have to be displayed.
Now, where would that be displayed? Because I can also get to my engine through the lazarette, so would I put it on the back of the steps here?
A lot of people will put it on the inside of the back of the steps.
So we could be putting it like right in there.
Right in here.
Well, let's do that.
And the description made is fixed in a conspicuous place in the machinery spaces or at the bilge pump control station. So sometimes they'll be on the side here, but in this case this is a machinery space.
And that's acceptable to put it on there because the bilge pump controls are right there.
Okay.
But this is acceptable to have it right here?
Yes, this is the machinery space. Now you'd want to have it so that it would not fall off and interfere with any machinery. Good. Good. So you're above and beyond. Well done.
Look at that. Come on.
If you do have oil that leaks into the water, you have to immediately notify the Coast Guard. Okay. Or if you see large cargo vessels on the lake and you see oil leaking from them, in other words, they let oil spill into their bilge and now the bilge is squirting it into the lake or river, that is a major offense, and you would contact, we're all trying to keep the waters clean. So if you see something like that happening, notify the Coast Guard, notify the authorities, and action will be taken because we want the lakes and rivers to stay clean so we can enjoy them.
Sure.
Some vessels, depending on how long they are required to have another placard outside of the oil one, which you see there, involving pollution. Vessels, again, 26 feet and longer, are required to have a garbage placard on board. Again, your vessel has gone above and beyond, and it has this. So if you have a ocean-going vessel, 40 foot or longer, that has a galley, it also must have a written waste management plan. But your vessel isn't 40 foot or longer, you need to tell your passengers in your passenger briefing before you depart. Let them know, no, we don't throw garbage into lakes and rivers because it's not good for the fish, and it's not good for the water, and we want the water to look good.
Excellent.
Marine sanitation devices, porta potties. So we take
the most glamorous part of the boat. It's just round to your right.
Let's take a look at it here.
It needs a clean.
Do you have a macerator?
No, it goes into this tank right here, and then there is a deck pump out over there.
Now, the question with that is there any way for the pump to discharge over the side?
No.
Okay.
There's not. It's completely one way, completely sealed.
Good. Older sailing vessels had the capacity to discharge off the side of the vessel. We'll go back to our book again here.
The old Y valve.
The Y valve. And the requirement is, in fact, for the captain to maintain the key to the Y valve. Many of the Y valves here in Lake Michigan are now zip tied closed, so you'd have to physically go snip it. And I guess the hope is that mature people would not do something like that, and the children who may not know better might snip that and then allow waste to go off the side of the boat into the water. The pump stations here in the city of Chicago, many of them have been replaced. In the last 8 years, before then, many of the pump stations were inoperative. And it was a challenge for mariners to get their pumps, their pump out done. So now, fortunately, you can probably find a place to get that done, and makes it a little bit easier. So, all recreational boats with installed toilet facilities must have an operable marine sanitation device on board. Now, you don't need a macerator because yours is it's not designed for that type of use, and so nothing can be dumped off board. So we don't have to worry about that.
We actually when the boat was when we first got the boat, when we first brought it into the harbour, we had to get the head inspected, and there was the marine department came and checked that we didn't have a Y valve, and were there with their zip ties ready to lock it off if it was. So that was kind of interesting.
The nav rules. Your vessel, again, as we discussed earlier, is not over 39.5 feet, so you don't have to have a copy of this on board. It's not a bad idea to have a copy of the navigation rules. It's got some nice refreshers on there, and it also talks a little bit about different light signals you'll see on other vessels. One of them is towing and pushing, when you have barges out there. Some operators of vessels sometimes see a large distance between the barge and the tow vessel and assume, I can just cut between them, but it's very hazardous. And it's hard to see at night especially, but even during the day, if you were to try to cut between a barge and a tow vessel, it would damage your vessel or maybe injure your passengers. Yeah. So you don't want that to happen. We're going to talk now about deck free of hazards and the clean bilge. So we can see, I don't know if we can get down here and look down the bilge. We don't see any oil or pollution down in there. I don't know if we can look at this one. Basically, we're looking for anything that would be environmentally unfriendly. Good. So you can see there's some water down there, which is normal, but that can be drained off by the bilge pump, and it's not good. So you have a clean bilge, and the deck is free of hazards. Everything's neatly stowed. The electrical system. We're going to look at the bus. We can see it's not damaged. One of the big issues here is you'd want to have, and of course the manufacturers do this naturally, but the smaller sailboats, if they're homemade, they might not have this. There's no exposure to the electrical system to rainwater or waves that might splash over the side, so there's no danger for the passengers of electrical injury. It appears that all the switches are operating normally. Did we turn our lights off? Or did you
no, they're still on. Yeah, I can turn those off, so we're not sitting here.
Sorry. Fill your battery good. And over here you have an AC master. There's no loose wires. It appears to be in good operating condition. No damage visible. And the bilge operating pump here. There's no loose wires. Can you see the battery?
The batteries are up here.
But the first thing we looked at was the battery compartment. Now, the state of Illinois requirement is slightly more stringent than the federal requirement in terms of both the positive and the negative posts must be covered with a plastic rubber thing. And in your case, you have the entire battery enclosed in a case. The big concern, of course, is when you have vessels, many of them gas operated. This is used as diesel, but most vessels, if it has a gas-operated engine and there's the batteries in an enclosed compartment, if there were fuel fumes to be in that compartment and a wrench, a screwdriver, or something were to fall on the battery and the posts were exposed, there's a danger of arcing, a large spark.
Yeah.
And that's why it's strange when you think about boats, why they always seem to be worried about fires. But if you're on the middle of the lake and a fire starts, it's much more difficult to battle it than if you were inland or someplace like that. So boats and fire don't mix very well.
No, it's not good.
So what I did there is I inspected your battery to double check that it did have those posts covered, which it does. So the electrical system appears normal. We didn't see any leaking of the fuel system. I don't smell any fuel fumes on board. Does the vessel have a heating system? Is there a heater on the boat?
There's a duvet. There's no electric.
Okay.
There's no auxiliary heating.
Alrighty. How about a cooking area? Is there a galley?
The galley is right next to you, and the stove is right here. And this operates. It's not a fitted thing. This comes up here like this.
Nice.
Like that, and then that sits on there.
Is it gas?
It is. It's canister gas, and the canister is. I might actually have a canister on board at the moment because it's early in the season, but it's a little canister that goes right in there.
Good.
But I don't see one. Normally they live in this little thing here, so we might be out of gas right now.
Okay. And you see the unit, it's stable on this. It's not going to fall off. One of the big issues with galley systems that we are concerned with has to do with the controls, in such that if you were coming and going through the vessel and want to accidentally operate the controls and start a fire, obviously fires in boats don't mix very well. So this one you don't even have a canister on board, so I can't say that there's no way it could be unsafe. There's no way to start a fire. But
do we have a canister? Hold on, maybe we put it in here. Yeah, we didn't have a canister.
There is a canister. Good.
There we go. But it's not. We don't keep it in the. I don't keep it in the stove at all times when it's because I'm worried about leaks and stuff and explosions and whatever else. So we take it out every time we use it. The same as the gas for the barbecue. We take that off every time we use it.
Good.
So.
Right, safety first. You know, that's really what we're looking for.
And these are also explosion proof. I think these canisters. Yeah, explosion proof triple seam structure.
Oh, excellent. Good. This vessel, to my inspection, appears to have all the mandatory requirements covered. On here, the lawyers have asked us to have you sign. I did not charge you for this vessel check, and there's no guarantees in this life. So sign away your life, and you get to keep a copy of this. Other times you'll have mariners, today's the 14th, other times you'll have mariners that have questions about what the checklist is, and you have this to refer to. And I put my phone number right on there. If you have other vessel operators in your area that want to know how to get a vessel safety check, they can call me.
Excellent.
And finally, the coup de grace is your vessel safety check decal. But I don't give it to you, I actually watch you put it on, so you don't take it off and put it on your bathtub at home. Okay?
This. Huh? There we go. Check that out.
Wants to look good. Nice and straight, huh? Looking good. And again, take the trash off the vessel. Don't throw it in the water.
Bob, thank you so much for coming down. I really appreciate your help today. Up next on Moneypenny, Bob takes us through some of the discussion items on the vessel safety check, and there's a couple of surprises on this one that aren't mandatory. And after that, he's kind enough to sit down with us for a little Q&A. We get to learn a little bit more about Bob and also about the Coast Guard Auxiliary. So please join us next time on Moneypenny.